So here we are back with episode 23 of G-Witch. Episode 22 set up our final conflicts for these last two episodes of potentially the entire show. Episode 24 is just called the final episode, so this may be it, pals. Hopefully it just refers to this core, but we'll see. Can't wait to see what's in store for these final episodes. Before we begin, I'll have a pinned comment for any corrections for the recap, since I tend to misinterpret some things upon initial viewing, or my opinion on a certain event may change after some constructive conversation. That being said, let's get started. Thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoy. The episode is called Unrelenting Tenderness, and it starts with Suletta and Ariel throwing down immediately. Ariel sends out the bits for Suletta to evade, and she isn't having a great time with the permit. We get an extremely fast-paced scene of Suletta dodging bits for a solid 15 seconds or so. She starts pleading with Ari to stop, but Ari says to not get in their mom's way. We then see a bunch of Ari clones appear around Suletta, saying it's all for Ari's sake and to go back to her friends at the school, that it's a matter for those who can only live in the data storm, and that Suletta needs to give up. Suletta says she can't just ignore what they're doing, but Ari says she's being stubborn. We then cut to Lauda and Guel clashing. Guel tells him to stop, and asks why he's attacking the ship. Lauda responds with asking Guel why he's by that woman's side, referring to Mio. He's also got that permit going through him, so I don't think he's surviving this episode, fellas. He goes on to say that if Mio hadn't brought Gundams back, Petra wouldn't have gotten hurt. He opens fire, blasting away at both Guel's Delanza and the ship. The ship gets hit, and Odello asks why Lauda is attacking them. Taking stock on who's in the ship, we pretty much got all of Earth House with Felsi and Ruji. At this point, they decide to launch Choo-Choo and the Demi-Barding towards the data storm, while she carries the Quiet Zero infiltration team, as it were, consisting of Belmeria, Kananji, Mio, Martin, Nika, and Elan 5. Belmeria says permit communication will be useless within the data storm, so they change to optical wireless communications. Nika proceeds to terminate the permit link so they can make their way in. When she does, Choo-Choo has a bit of a problem controlling the Demi-Barding, and she remarks how hard it is. They enter the data storm without a hitch, though. Elan 5 says it's an unpleasant feeling being in it, and to hurry up to Quiet Zero. We then get the opening. Speaking of the opening, we get another change. In this episode's opening, we see the combat sequence change to the current dealings with Quiet Zero. We see the Calibarn and Demi-Barding attacking Ariel, the short set, and another cool shot of the Calibarn. Pretty cool. I was planning on releasing the second opening changes video earlier this week, but I'm glad I waited. At this point, I think I'll wait until the core is done, so stay tuned for that. Anyway, continuing with the episode. After the opening, we get more Lauda and Guel. Lauda is still firing away at Guel, breathing heavily because, Gundam curse. Guel tells him to stop, because, Gundam curse will kill him. Lauda responds by telling Guel that he should stop him by killing him, just like their father. He then starts going off, asking why Guel didn't tell him about their father, asking if it was out of guilt or if he thought Lauda couldn't bear it. He also asks if Guel thinks he's really undependable. Guel says that it was his sin to bear alone. Lauda says that's what's wrong with him, and that's how Mio is able to take advantage of him, that the righteousness and arrogance he has is his sin. At this point of the fight, Lauda seems to have the advantage, but taking a break from that now, we see a small fleet of ships heading towards Quiet Zero that I believe are League ships. They get a communication request from Guston, who asks to speak to their operations HQ. They ask what an inspector can do in this situation, and it turns out Guston has Delling with him to tell him what's up. He says the corporate governance is still intact within the group, and in accordance with the League charter, they request an emergency special session to have all members send representatives and reconsider if it's justifiable to intervene in the group's affairs. After that request, it looks like Delling isn't doing so hot, but he did just come out of a coma after all. Guston thanks him for his cooperation. We then see more Suletta versus Ariel. Ari tells her to stand down, and that she doesn't want to hurt her. Suletta returns the sentiment, but the Aries say not to stop them, that their mom wants Ari to have a place in the world. Suletta asks if it's okay to gobble up the fronts for that goal. The Aries say Ari wouldn't do that, but their mom wouldn't hesitate to. Suletta says that's why she wants to stop her, that she doesn't want her mom to become evil. Suletta shoots down one of the gun nodes, but takes a drop kick from Ariel through the smoke. Ari tells Suletta to forget about them, but she refuses. Ari then gives a really adorable pouty face in response. Their whole fight has been fantastic so far. Suletta then goes on that she cares about Ari and their mom, that whenever her mom cries, she wants to hug her, to still be by her side, and that she could never forget about them. This seems to get to Ari a little bit, but she still continues to fight back. She says if Suletta won't understand, then she won't hesitate, and continues to bombard her with bits. She also surrounds Choo-Choo and the crew, with Martin freaking out about it. Then suddenly, the data storm emitted by Quiet Zero gets interrupted by something. Eri asks why it's interfering, and Prospera goes out with a gun saying she's doing some pest control. We then cut to the Assembly League, who I'm assuming is the head of the league, talks about an interplanetary laser power transmission system in Lagrange 1, and that he would like them to use it. They ask about the session Delling requested, but they pulled the whole, nope, didn't get that request, sorry. Also, that power transmission system is actually a weapon disguised as a power transmission system, so that's fun. Time for Banniger to show up and block another colony laser. Oh wait, wrong Gundam. He also pulls the I wonder what would happen if we accidentally activated it deal. They say it'll devastate not just Benerit, but all of Lagrange 4, and who will take responsibility. Head Dude says they will, and to make up for it, Lagrange 1's government and corporate volunteers will handle the rebuilding. Pale Technologies have a pretty big hand in this whole thing. And after the arbitration, Pale wants to be in charge of the group. Cutting back to Quiet Zero, we see the Infiltration group has made their way into it. Elan 5 mentions that the data storm is calmer inside as they make their way through. Kananji gives Belmeria a gun, asking if she's had training with them. She declines, but he says he couldn't give it to any of the students. As they make their way, the elevator door opens, revealing some turret Haros. After that, we see more Guel versus Lauda. He seems to be enjoying his Gundam time, as he says with the short set he's a match for his brother. He ends up shooting both legs off Guel's Delanza, saying he can stop the witches and Mio. He fires some cluster bombs at Guel, going on that if Mio isn't going to pay for the crimes of killing their father and wounding Petra, that he will shoulder all their sins and honor the Jaturk name. They then charge at each other with beam weapons, but before clashing, Guel discharges his, as Lauda impales the Delanza. He notices this, and they go into a flashback of when they first met. A child Guel hugging Lauda, happy about having a little brother. After the flashback, Guel tells Lauda that he's right about their father, and that he'll never run from them again. Guel also tells him to never pilot a Gundam again. Lauda apologizes, and Guel's Delanza is floating away from Lauda in a dramatic moment, about to explode. But Felsi shows up to save it, shooting what I'm assuming is some non-explodey goop at it. She tells them both that they're stupid, dying in some sibling fight. She says if it's a joke, then it isn't funny. Guel agrees with the sentiment. We then cut back to the Terminator Haros in Quiet Zero. Elan 5, being a rebel, has been packing heat this whole time and pulls out a pistol. Chuchu asks where he got it, but he says who cares. Kananji tells Belmeria to take Mio to the core block of Quiet Zero and to hurry up. Kananji throws out basically a flashbang that disables the Haros temporarily. Elan 5 tells Kananji that he'll take care of them, and that no one will get killed this time. They make it rather quickly, accessing a terminal to input the shutdown code. However, Prospera shows up, saying she isn't so careless and that she's changed it. She also brought some Terminator Haros with her. Back to Eri and Suletta, she tells Suletta that Mio is with her mom right now, and to not take away the place that Eri and their mom can live freely. Belmeria pleads with Prospera to stop, but she responds by saying Eri is the child blessed with Vanidus's ideals, but there isn't a place in the world for her, and that she has to make one. This gets on Mio's nerves, asking if she cares about Suletta at all. Prospera says she does love her, but now she has friends like them. Mio then asks if she can imagine how Suletta feels in the Calibarn, that she's trembling with fear that she might die, but despite that, she cares for both of them, that if she's their mother, she should love them equally. Prospera says it's none of her business. Mio then tries to bypass the admin rights as Prospera closes in. Belmeria, refusing to run away any longer, decides to shoot at Prospera, but only destroying her two accompanying Haros. Elan 5 pulls off some impressive zero-G acrobatics, grabs his gun, and destroys another Haro. Mio then gains access to the Meta System Administration, which has an entry to Notret, who is her mother. And that's right, we got Chekhov's tomato. The message that was in the genetic code of the tomatoes allowed her to access the whole system. As this was happening, Prospera closed in again, ready to shoot Mio. Belmeria covered Mio with her body, but Elan 5 was able to distract the Haro with an empty magazine and shoot both it and Prospera, knocking off her helmet. Mio was then able to shut down Quiet Zero's data storm. This allowed everyone else to re-establish permit links, gain access to Quiet Zero's internal systems, and completely shut it down. Godoy tells them to reroute everything to security, but it's too late. Quiet Zero shuts down, along with all of its defense systems. Everyone breathes a sigh of relief, and Elan 5 tells Belmeria that she isn't too good at killing people, and that she should help them instead. Mio offers her hand out to Prospera, telling her to move forward like she always says, for herself, Suletta, and Eri, since all of them will be family. Prospera doesn't seem too happy about all that, though. Cutting back to Delling, he tells the Space Assembly League that Quiet Zero has shut down, and for them to leave them alone. Head Dude refuses though, saying that their companies have grown too big. They begin setting up the big laser to fire towards Quiet Zero, shooting a test shot at first. Eri sees it coming, and grabs all of the gun nodes to block it. She's successful, however we see the aerial's pretty busted up afterwards. Ares' fate is up in the air at this point. We then get the ending as Prospera calls out Ares' name. Another great episode, but it feels a bit weird that dealing with Quiet Zero doesn't seem to be the big end, instead having the League pull some giant doomsday laser out of nowhere. Really wonder how they're going to end this whole series off, since the next episode is dubbed as the final episode. Not a whole lot to talk about, but we'll discuss a few things. Eri and Suletta's fight was action-packed, with a lot of back and forth telling each other to stop. Neither of them were really keen on killing each other, so not a whole lot actually happened. They weren't willing to back down on what they wanted to do, and Suletta was just distracting her anyway for the Infiltration team. Lauda and Guel was also a great fight. Lauda pulled a Riddy, being mad about a woman. Their flashback was wholesome. I thought Guel was going to be a little jerk to him there since he's a bad boy, but hey, he was happy he got a little brother, so good on him. He was able to talk him down after pretty much doing a sacrifice play, but Felsi showed up and saved the day. I'll save my judgment on whether he should have died or not until after the final episode. Still lots of room for things to play out. Delling showing up and doing what he could was nice. I kinda figured he'd just still be relaxing. He tried to pull his weight, getting the League to stand down, but them and Pale are really hell-bent on taking Benerit down. They seem to be the true big bads right now, so I can't wait to see what they pull next episode. And lastly, the Space Assembly League. I don't recall them alluding to the giant laser earlier in the series, so go ahead and leave a comment if it's been brought up before. I'm assuming since they only fired a test shot, they're going to raise output immediately and fire again. So they probably don't have time to get Ariel fully repaired and launch a counterattack. If they do have time, it would be cool if they repaired Ariel, considering it isn't totaled and area is fine. Boot up Quiet Zero again and go deal with the League. But that would make for a pretty quickly paced final episode, so it's kinda hard to say. Let me know in the comments what you think will happen in the final episode. I'm really interested in hearing your thoughts. In any case, we're in the final stretch. I'll be here till the end, so thank you to everyone that has stuck around. See you in the final episode, and of course, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.